It's time to gear up for the new school year with Digicel's exciting family postpaid plan. Get 4 Samsung's AO4 on us when you sign up today and get so much data and less calls plus international minutes with up to 4 lines, all for just $300 per month. Hurry to a retail store today. Better connected for back to school.
And it's the At Work Network, and right now it's a segment, it's called Fire Talk, a conversation with the individuals from the fire department here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services. Forgive me, pardon me for that, Timothy, and the fire chief is right here, so if I was looking for a job, you might be thinking twice about considering me. So I'll make sure I dot all my I's this morning and
but
cross
you're
my
already
T's.
honorary fire officer. So.
Oh, okay, so I might be fired then. So let me try not to lose that position. Gentlemen, welcome to our program, and a little late moment there in our introduction. But this morning our conversation is about the role that you guys play as it relates to independence. We are counting down to our independence celebration here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, those of us who look forward to, watching the parade, we've often seen the fire services present at our parade day, But outside of that, we're going to get to that. I'm hoping that will be the last hoo-ah in the part of our conversation. Outside of that, though, what role do you play in independence outside of the parade? I know you're part of an integral part of society. By now, I've learned that, and if people haven't picked that up as yet, I hope after this morning they do. I know on numerous occasions, we've had conversations, and talking about conversation, up to last week I had a conversation with the manager of Public Works Department, Mr. Williams. He was here, and we were discussing about a number of issues and plans for the Federation as it relates to water. And during that conversation, the fire department name came up. So there's one or two questions I have to follow up as it relates to the conversation with you guys, but I want to start with the independence celebration. Before we leave, we can touch base on a question that was raised during that conversation. So once again, good morning. Pardon my long ramble this morning. Is usually shorter, but wanted to make sure our audience understand what we will be talking about and what we'll be covering this morning. So Timothy, I know the chief is here this morning, but you're the man to lead. You're the man to lead.
Yes.
Good morning, GQ. Good morning, listening audience. It's a pleasure to be back here at the station. Yes, so now when it relates to independence, most persons, they just see the parade, the grand spectacle of the officers marching, etc. However, there is a number of preparations to be had with the independence celebration. It starts there, the preparation. So all now we have members of the fire department dealing in key areas, especially areas where we will have dignitaries coming in, etc. So we are a part of whatever body that is set up to make sure that the logistics behind these personnel getting here, everything is on point. It's not just fire department. Of course, you would have the other entities, a long list of entities. I won't name out all of them right now. Just speak about our end. Now, yes, so we are integrally a part of these committees that are there to ensure that the arrivals and up to the departure of these individuals, everything goes smoothly. Then we have the actual the parades. You have rehearsals, etc., coming into play. The men and women have to be ready for the grand day. So it comes about the preparation of the officers regarding rehearsals, etc. Making sure that we have our uniform on point, so persons who may not have uniform, we try to make sure that they get every article of uniform that they need to get, so that they can be the best out there on that day. So that's just some of the things behind the scene that we have to do in preparation for.
Do you have a drill instructor coming in to train you guys, or do you have someone on staff who?
Interesting that you would ask that question, but one of the main drill instructor for the service is this gentleman right here.
Oh, really?
However, with the workload that he has on his hands, we normally reach out to a member of the defense force also to come in and teach our guys a bit of the drills.
Is everyone selected to be a part of the parade, or you have pinpointed a few, or you ask, and is it voluntary? Oh, I want to be a part of it.
No, it's more detailed duties. It's national duty. So if you leave it up for persons to volunteer, you probably will not get anybody. So you have to detail persons. I might get a few persons. Those are the ones who are more patriotic, and they are, they understand what it means to the country. So they would volunteer, but you probably might only get 5 because persons prefer to use the time to do other things. So it is detailed duties. They are detailed. However, my colleague here mentioned about being a drill instructor. I'm not a drill instructor. No, I don't want him to advertise that either. I'm not a drill instructor. I worked close with a drill instructor, Mr. Kaiwan Sendrixi, when he was a part of the organization. So most of the drills and the routines and what's not, I know very well. And coming from Defense Force before I joined Fire Department, and even while I was at the Fire Department, I was reserved at the Defense Force, so I'm familiar with a lot of the drills. So some of it I could teach, and some I still have to be taught. So I was more or less, most of the parades during my tenure at the Fire Department, I was second in charge. So it was easy to come up because I knew, and so it was easy to teach other persons because I was paying attention to the person who was teaching me. But coming from Fire Department, coming out, and these parades sometimes they have somewhat of a military sense. Independence Parade, military police and cadets and armed units, and it has a military feel. So persons may wonder, well, why fire there? Why the Boy Scouts there? But it's a patriotic event, and so Fire Department coming out of police, who were once police, we were always a part of that parade. Prison with paramilitary, customs, Girls Guide and all. They have that discipline where they would do drills and what have you. So they have that similar structure. So they would be a part of these parades. And so Fire Department, while our role is not as huge as other entities might be, it is still important that our presence, and not only the people are aware that the fire department exists. And so we have always been a part of it from time I know Fire Department. We have always been a part of the parade, and so we are expected to still be a part of the parade. As Mr. Martin mentioned, there are some things that happen prior to the parade. We assist Foreign Affairs with driving of the officials, as do police and customs. We all assist with the transporting of these officials, so that when the officials come, we have a very good first impression. And so it's a collaborative effort. We work hand in hand for the benefit of all. Right? Yeah.
Now, this might sound like a joke, but it's not intended to be a joke. Do you put notice on while you guys are out? We're not taking any calls at the moment for fire because we're at the parade.
No, can't do that.
What's the plan? What's the
You
plan?
can't
What's the
do
plan?
that. You still-
What's the plan for that day?
You still have normally Independence Day would be a reserve day, because what happened is you find that there are some persons who might be on the working shift for the day, who we might want to use on the parade. So we would need to have persons either come in early prior to the parade, so that those who are on the parade would be able to prepare and leave for the parade. And so there's always someone manning the alert room, so that we still have to function, we still have to take calls. So while this grand parade is happening, we have persons who are still working. So when there's a fire call or emergency run, somebody is there. There's a team, there's a crew in all districts still there to respond, as we cannot leave the country open, prone to. And there are persons, the day they find out that the entire stations are empty, they will find mischief to do.
Wow.
So, just like the police station are still manned, Defense Force Camp is still manned, the fire department is still manned. So
It's a little different for you guys, though,
Yeah.
because you now have to shift some of your manpower to be a part of the celebration. So, is there a minimum in terms of this is what we generally need for fighting a bushfire? Do you have a minimum number for that, and do you have a minimum number for structure fire as well in terms of manpower that you need, so you can say, okay, you know what, we're going to leave X amount of people here, and we're going to take X amount of people.
Okay,
to the
so
parade.
for the parades like those, we normally use the off shifts, so that it doesn't affect the working shift. Cases where we have to use persons from the working shift, they will be replaced with persons on the off shift who we will not use.
Okay.
So there's always a full complement at the station. The minimum shift is about 6, the supervisor and 5, right? But we try to keep that 6. Anything 6 and above, that's good, but we try not to go below 6. So there would always be at least 6 persons at the station, all stations, at least 6. Well, for headquarters, at least 6. The other stations, we sometimes run about 4, maybe 5, because the districts are much smaller and it is slow. And we, in the event that there is a major emergency, then all the other district stations would respond to that emergency to complement those numbers. But for headquarters, we try to keep it at 6. For the parade, there is not a set number as to how many officers would attend the parade. We just basically gauge the numbers. 30 is normally a set. The number that we use could be 25, but we normally say 30.
Okay.
For the 40th anniversary, it'd be good to have 40.
Yeah.
What can I promise you?
Last week we touched base on training, and I forgot to ask Timothy about this question as it relates to training. I know I've been in contact with individuals from the trained armed forces that indicated to me detailed drivers, they have to be trained. They be trained in certain defensive driving, and the list goes on and on. Do you have firemen at your station who are detailed to be drivers with that training as well?
Detailed to be drivers for
The dignitaries that are coming in.
Oh, well, the drivers who drive, they are trained, they have protocol training. Foreign Affairs, we would select the drivers, and Foreign Affairs deals with the protocol training. All the do's and the don'ts about as it relates to dealing with the dignitaries, Foreign Affairs handle that. We just provide the drivers. So what they teach them, honestly, I can't tell you because I've never been to one of those sessions. But the Foreign Affairs do what they need to do, and in most cases we only use drivers who are trained in protocol. You might have maybe on one or two instances, because of the request might be a last minute request, and those who are trained in protocol are not available at the time, so we have to just use a driver. And because the driver is always accompanied by a protocol officer, the protocol officer will guide that driver. So I've never really had any reports about the driver not dealing with the dignitaries properly. So Foreign Affairs does a good job in training protocol, and the officers, they do a good job in basically using what they were taught to deal with the dignitaries.
All right. So you do have staff on hand who,
Yes,
who
are trained in
Okay.
protocol to deal with the dignitaries.
What I would like to say though, there are different levels when it comes to the dignitaries that are coming to the Federation. There are high priority dignitaries, and then there are a lower level in terms of priority. So the persons, the dignitaries that are profiled as high level, the drivers that would be used to drive them might come from the armed forces, for example, but the more low level dignitaries and so is what we might so they might not require that type of defense driving skills, etc.
Right. I
There are
understand.
different levels to the dignitaries that.
We are just we are guided by Foreign Affairs. When they make a request, we expect that. We leave that up to them. Whatever level the person, we leave that up to them. If they request a driver and we can afford or spare a driver, we give a driver their time when we can't, and then Foreign Affairs will just resort to other agencies. But whatever the priority level is, that is entirely Foreign Affairs. That literally had nothing to do with us. We just assist them when we can. Right?
Provide the manpower.
Yes, yeah.
All right, talking about manpower, is there anything that you want to share as it relates to your roles or role in independence, or that's it?
I think that's
Well, as I mentioned, our role is not that in the independence aspect. Our role is not. We have a small role. We just prepare for the parade, attend the rehearsals, attend the parade. There's a drill competition, a foot drill competition that is held annually between the different military, paramilitary agencies, police, customs, fire department, cadets, defense force.
Right.
And there's a friendly drill competition that is held down at the Bayfront, and we also take part in those competitions. I myself would have taken part in the competition and did some serious damage. Yeah, I can remember my youthful years when
He
we
speaks
won.
up now.
Won actually. Yeah, we actually won. I think we came first in one instant, and in individual, I would have placed first in one of the individual drills.
Congrats, man.
So there was some good old days, but it still happens, and so we still have officers taking part in those competitions. But as a department, what we need to do, we really need to do more in getting more officers trained in the foot drills aspect of the whole drill thing. As for officers, we don't really get much exposure to that outside of when we actually have a training program that is running, where foot drill is literally a part of that, mandatory. But outside of that, what we intend to do is to get a program going where we could, occasionally have persons from maybe defense force or police come in and just do some random, just to brush up. And what I would want ideally is to have a drill instructor on staff, so we could do it as often as we want. But like I said, as it relates to independence, we don't really have much to do
Okay.
per se.
All right.
For the 40th anniversary, you know, they would have formed some committees. Mr. Martin would have attended some meeting with Foreign Affairs. I have Mr. Pablo Gomes down at Defense Force, well, over at Defense Force presently, in another committee that was formed to deal with the 40th anniversary parade. And I believe this one is more to do with the parade itself. The one that Mr. Martin attends, that is more to do with the dignitary side of it. And so that's our involvement in Independence this year.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. We just have about 6 minutes left inside of our program. I want to wrap up our program with a question that was asked last week during the water line with Mr. Williams. An individual asked if the fire truck, well, the appliance, let me use the correct term.
Either way, it is used interchangeably. It's the same thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
If the appliance is adequate enough to support water for drinking, seeing that you guys use it mainly for firefighting, can you now say, okay, the base out of water, take drinking water to the people and they don't have anything to worry about?
I will answer that question first by saying, if the truck is designed with two separate tanks, there's a tank that carries water and there's a tank that carries foam. The two tanks are separated, so there's no foam going to water or water going to foam. They're separated. The water that we take to the individuals, when we take the water to be used. I can't tell the person to use it for drinking, and if they are not comfortable using the water for drinking because of where the water came from, I will not recommend that they do that if they're not comfortable. What I do at home, my storage tank, I don't use that water for drinking. I buy water, bottled water for drinking, and I use the storage water for everything else. Flushing the toilets, showers, washing your dishes, washing machine, wash your clothes. That's what I use that water for. But I would buy drinking water from the shop, and that's what I do. So if any person, if they are concerned about whether or not they could drink this water, if you're not comfortable, I don't recommend that you do that, because the water that is in the fire truck, it comes from the fire hydrant. It comes from the government main.
Mr. Williams did indicate that.
The same water that is going into your house is the same water that's going into the fire truck.
Right.
Clean water. But if you have a concern, if you're not comfortable doing that, I recommend that you do what you are comfortable doing. Go to the shop, buy water, purified water, and you use that for drinking. And the water that we bring, you use that for showering, washing, flushing the toilets, anything else.
But it's not compromised, though,
in terms of
the water being contaminated by going into the truck.
No, well, water department actually came and did a test and test the water from the hydrant and from the truck, and from what we were told, the water was good.
Okay. All right. Timothy, anything to add?
It's just a matter that the fire truck is just a large storage tank, so to speak. And, sometimes we have, whether a 300-gallon tank at home, a 500-gallon tank at home, those black tubs. That is water that is not always in motion. It's only used when the government main is off. However, the fire trucks they are used quite often. So the water in that tank is often circulated.
Okay, it's not resting for too long.
It's not stagnant for too long.
Right.
And
in the case of traveling, forgive me for interjecting, but in the case of transporting water to a community or a village, it's not water that you had put down. You go get the water, collect the water, and then go. Is that the procedure?
It depends because we don't park the truck empty. The
Okay.
truck always have water inside of it
Okay.
because we have a time to respond. We have a 3-minute window.
Right,
We
right.
can't afford to go buy a fire hydrant to go fill in a truck. Because the truck, once we get back, as a matter of fact, once we go to a scene, once before we leave the scene, we replenish, we fill it back up just in case we end up on another scene before we get back to base. The truck is always filled with water.
Okay.
So when persons make requests, we just get ready, jump in the truck, and we leave with a full truck of water. When that is depleted, we fill back up and then we go. But one of the other things I would like to add, though, if there's a concern about the water, boil the water before using it for drinking. You boil it, you let it cool, you put it in bottles before you use it for drinking. Right? And when I was small, I was always told, boil the water. Even when water go on it for a while and it comes back, the first water you let it run off. Or if you're not sure, boil the water. Boil the water and,
Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for clearing that up. Gentlemen, we're out of time. And before we go, anything from you, Timothy, not because the chief is here. Your final
And
words?
I was happy that you actually brought in, that question, because a lot of persons had the concept out there about, the water from the fire truck, etc. So I'm happy that we were able to clear it up at a certain point. Now, I just want to say that, persons, we're still in a water crisis situation, and we're asking persons to use water responsibly. It is one of our primary means of extinguishment. So use the water, sparingly. If you have to shower, turn off the tap, lather up, then turn it back on for rinsing. Brushing your teeth, don't keep the water running. You turn off the water, brush your teeth, then turn it on to do whatever rinsing, etc. Use water responsibly.
Thank you, Timothy, and thank you for being here. Ramel, your presence was missed last week, but I'm glad that you're around. Gentlemen, once again, thanks for being here. Thanks you for listening, and thank you for watching as well. We'll catch you guys next week, same time, same place. Stay tuned, we have Battle of the Bands coming up next. It's The Morning Show.
It's the morning show.
Are you ready to experience the ultimate in sports? Ultra TV from the cable brings you more where it matters. Get ready for an adrenaline-pumping season as Ultra TV brings you the English Premier League like never before. Feel the excitement, the passion, and the goals as the best teams battle